Okay, so welcome back. So only one asset remains, and that's going to be the rocks. So that's going to be the both this one. So this is going to be the main rock that we're going to sort of look through. So yeah, we're just going to generate something, and then, well, this was the one that I ended up using because I liked how there was like a gap in between that sort of had some light rays passing through it, and I just liked the overall shape. But yeah, I mean, when you do it yourself, you're probably gonna have a slightly different result, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you can just assemble the scene yourself, and you're gonna have your own unique scene. But before we do that, we're gonna just make a one simple rock. So that's this one. So what I had in the final scene is I have this main rock, and then I have some smaller rocks scattered across this surface. So just like on the ground here, they're going to be scattered a whole bunch of like smaller rocks. And we're going to do that inside the whole in the scene assembly tutorial. So the Patreon exclusive ones in the higher tier. So that's going to be there. So I think I ended up just only scattering one rock, but you can do different, many different rocks like we're gonna do with the coral. So let's first start building just one little rock part. And of course, it's not gonna look as interesting as the rendered one you saw in the original thing right now, because of course this is just the model. But after this tutorial is done, we're gonna look into the how we can do lighting and shading inside of Houdini. So we're gonna learn how to render stuff out, how to make lights, how to make materials. And especially for the rocks, those materials are gonna really sell the thing. So we're gonna first make these models, like you see them over here. And then we're gonna go quickly with a couple of episodes over just explaining how lighting and shading inside of Houdini works. And just then our workflow. And then we're gonna come back to our rocks, and then we're gonna apply some materials and start working on those materials and see how we can do some shader building. Because especially with these rocks, it's a good way to learn because they have quite a nice sort of procedural material. So yeah, let's start making something. Okay, so if we go inside the rock, you see the main rock is super simple. And I kind of challenge you to maybe try this for yourself already, because I mean, we already covered how this was done basically with the when we discussed the VDBs. This is basically almost exactly the same setup. Of course, the complete rock will have some other stuff in it, like the big rock asset. But the small rocks that we're gonna make first, I mean, have a go for yourself. Try if you can make this work. Just have a go. Try make something like this. Or you can keep watching, but gonna give you a quick moment to pause the video if you want. And you didn't pause, or you did, I don't know. But let's start making this asset from scratch. So let's make an empty geometry node. I guess call this rock tutorial. Let's dive in. So on top here, I made a platonic solid. So we haven't used that one yet. You could also just use a box or a sphere. But the nice thing with this platonic solid is you can see it has this sort of weird looking shapes. This is sort of like a soccer ball kind of thing. You call this a dodecahedron, but there's a whole bunch of other things like icosahedron, octahedron, cube. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff. Like there's even an actual soccer ball there. So, but for now, let's use the dodecahedron. And of course, you can use the wedging technique that we used earlier for the coral to also apply this to this thing. And then you could maybe like randomize, like, okay, I want it to be an icosahedron in one, and then dodecahedron in another. And if you're wondering what you would put inside of a wedge to sort of, well, drive this value, if you would just put this to 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., it will just go to the zeroth input, first input, second input, third input. So I can show you how that works if you want. So let's let me just make a integer slider on the rock thing to just show that. So just integer. So if I were to have this integer slider here and just paste it on the solid type here, paste relative references. you can see just the slider will just, even though it doesn't match the name, it will just put it to first input, second, third, etc. So that's how you could wedge it. So anyway, so let's make a platonic solid. Let's go over there. And let's also do a dodecahedron on this one. And let's append a remesh. So what a remesh will do is it will remesh your mesh. So if you have a look at it, you see it makes a triangular mesh from it. So we don't have quads anymore, but it's fine. So what I ended up doing here, I didn't end up using that, but what you can do is, for example, you have a hard edge group, which you could say to, you could put to keep certain edges really hard. So let's say if I select an edge, so let's say if I group this edge, I could put this hard edge group to, let me create an actual group. And now the viewport is bugging again, so that sometimes happens. Yeah, there we go. So if I select this edge, yeah, do it, you can do it. All right, group. So now we have a group. And if I were to put this inside of my remesh now, you would see that edge will remain super straight. So it doesn't matter what I do with these settings. Like that edge will always be super straight, because sometimes it will, like when you remesh, it won't always keep these hard edges. That's what you use hard edge group for. If you put a star, it will keep hard edges on every thing. So anyway, so let's put another remesh, just so you know. And what I ended up doing was just appending a mountain. So we discussed that earlier in this course, just before we went into VOPs. So again, you could also just do this in VOPs and like add some noises and like make your own. Depends on what you want to do. But let's just do this, so we just have a simple sort of deformed thing. And let's do a VDB from polygons. Let's do a little bit higher resolution, so we have something to work with. So something like that. And you can see I appended a volume VOP. So very simple. I just did the whole volume sample thing that I showed you earlier, and then I added some noise to the sampled position. So if I want to do that, I need a VOC VDB. So let's not do a distance, let's do a VOC. Here we go. Do a attribute VOC. Oh, sorry, let's do a volume VOC. Append it, go in there. And remember, we already did this when we were talking about the VDBs. We can do a volume sample. Where do we want to sample? We want to sample the current position of every voxel. We want to sample just the first input. And then we want to sample, we can also just put it to name. Just put density. Right, let's just plug it in. Nothing changes, as you can see. But we're going to change the sample position. So we're going to add a turbulent noise. Put the position in there. Let's make it a 3D noise, and let's add to our sampled position. Let's promote these parameters. For some reason, it's giving some error when I enabled and disabled it. I have no idea why it's doing that. It's weird. Let's just make a new one, because that's weird. Just do a volume VOP. Let's just paste the whole thing in there. All right, so you can see something already happened. So then we go in there and we can use convert VDB. Go to VDB and then change VDB type to VDB class convert VOC to SDF. So now we have this. Really looks pretty cool. So we can do another convert VDB, and then we convert it to polygons. So additionally, if you wanted to, depending on the look you're after, you could do another volume VOP. Then we could, don't really have to do a volume sample here. We could just do just a turbulent noise. Put it in here and just use this to multiply the already existing density. So let's put it in there. We need to do this before we do the sample, by the way. So we need to do it before. We can do it here, by the way, just before we convert it. Let's up the frequency. Let's reduce the amplitude. Let's have a look at why we're not really seeing much. Black noise. Let's put it to. Why am I not seeing anything? What did I do? Density. This should work. So why is it not working? Original Berlin seems to work better. Okay, let's do a dark background. Okay, yeah, this seems to be the best Berlin noise. All right, yeah. So if you'd want to go for something like this, like you could have, it's more like I guess like tried magma or something, where there's going to be air bubbles inside of the rock. I didn't really use that, but you could definitely do that, just so you know. But again, if you wanna, you can also go back to the VDB part of the course, and then we already did that there. So I'm gonna remove this. Maybe just disable it so you still have it in here. So I'm just gonna use this, and all we need to do is just append the normal. So we get some nice normals, and just put an output. So we could cache this to disk because it's quite heavy. So you might want to cache this. So depending on how many you want to catch, you could either wedge this or just save just one out yourself. I'm just gonna just do a regular file cache and just cache one. So I'm gonna put this to $hip for now. You generally want to use $job. Let me just do $job. Let's call it rock. And press save to disk. So it's gonna, oh, damn, I accidentally had it put to save the frame range. I don't want to do the frame range. Already did. So there's a whole frame range here, which I didn't really want to do, but anyway, so let's just do one. Let's just do load from disk. So anyway, so now we have one of those rock pieces. And again, you could manually just make changes and then save them out like this, or you could do wedging, depending on what you want to do. So leave that up to you, how you want to handle that. I think in my final scene, I only used one of these bubbles scattered, because if you're doing more, it's also going to be slower. And since they were like quite small and they just were used to add detail up on the rocks, I didn't really see much difference when I did multiple, and I just slowed down the render. So I just ended up using one. I think with the coral, it was absolutely necessary to use multiple, but in this case, that really didn't really matter. So anyway, so now we have the main rock thing. So now let's make the big boy, the actual big thing that we're super close to, where everything is going to be positioned on.